Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm senior editor Denton Davidson here with Tony McNamara. He's nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay at the 2024 Oscars for writing Poor Things. Tony, this is your second Oscar nomination. Your second for a Yorgos Lanthimos movie. You were nominated for The Favorite as well. So the reception for this film has to be exciting. Talk about what it was like to get your second Oscar nomination.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was beyond exciting, I think. Yeah, I was just home in London with my wife, nervously nervously waiting to see if it happened. And then, yeah, I mean, it was amazing to get one, and to get two is like beyond, it's a screenwriter's dream, really.
And your scripts clearly work well with Yorgos's directing style. Talk about this relationship between the two of you, and how he brought Poor Things to you. How was that presented?
Yeah, I was just I think we were during the favorite pre-production, and I knew about it because even when we first got to know each other, he kind of loved this book. He hadn't really told me what it was about, and he just kind of slid it across the table at lunch, and he was like, read it, see if you want to do it. And within nothing more really. And then I think because he just wanted my instinctive reaction to it. And then I read it, and it was wild and a huge challenge in a way, because I think what he wanted to do, and when I read it, that was my instinct as well, was put Bella's experience at the center, and that's not really the case in the book. In the book, her story's told by the men. You're never really with her. So we kind of like which was a challenge and a joy, because it was also I got to invent that. Her experience was the invention of the movie, and it also gave a chance to do a satire about control, and particularly male control, I guess. So yeah, that's how it sort of came about, where it seemed like this idea. I'd never adapted a book before, so I was like, I don't know that this should be the one. It seems quite difficult, but but we have a good relationship, and we had a great time working on The Favorite. And our process is very simple, and I think we have a very similar sensibility. So I think he always knows what I'm gonna, he's what I do. He kind of likes 80%. He likes most of it, and from there, I just kind of go. We just sort of shape it, as he gets towards production, as he sort of kind of builds how he wants to see something and what it's going to look like. I just sort of build in tandem with that.
How many times do you have to read a novel to adapt it for the screen? Can you walk me through that a little bit? Are you like dissecting it page by page? Do you read it once and then just take sort of the idea and then go your own way with it? Walk me through that a little bit?
Well, I think I don't read it many times. I think I read it once or two. I think of Poor Things I probably read twice. Because in a way you've got to, like, I think for me anyway, I've only done it, I've done it since but I think what my thing is, I'm just taking the spirit of the novel, and I'm trying to make a piece of cinema. And so I'm always like, I don't feel like slavish to the novel. I don't feel a sort of obligation to the novel in a way. I feel like the novel is a piece of material that we're going to turn into a piece of cinema. So it's about, I'm focused on the piece of cinema. I'm not focused on the novel. I think the novel helped us and has an amazing premise. And Alasdair's a great artist, but they're two different things. So, and I think because we were taking a different take on it, I didn't need it that much. We came back to it a couple of years in. We both reread it and found a few gems that we were like, oh, we should put that in. But yeah, mostly it's like making it, me owning it as an artist, so I can give it to Yorgos so he can own it and kind of build what he wants from it.
The story is so bizarre. It's this grown woman, Bella Baxter, and she gets a brain transplant with an infant's brain. So we see her grow up emotionally, basically, while she's already physically an adult. What was the most challenging aspect of rounding out that character?
I think what was really challenging was just the arc of that is huge.
Yeah.
So I think making the arc structurally, and the events that would kind of allow her to emotionally kind of grow, and also taking her on it's a journey movie, so it was like sections of the boat Lisbon, what each section meant, and the language, like the dialogue, kind of inventing how her dialogue would work. You know, most movies, everyone talks, you know, if a character talks the way they talk, you know. But in this, her dialogue had to evolve all the time throughout the whole 2 hours. So every, you know, so all the, you know, every scene to scene, sequence to sequence, I was evolving her dialogue. So that was really meticulous about, because it couldn't really have a false note in it for the audience. It had to feel like it was very consistent the way, even though it was sort of random acceleration of her brain, there had to be a consistency so the audience could read what the emotional arc was and where she was in each beat and what her language meant, how she grew intellectually and politically and emotionally, and how that was reflected all the time.
And then you've got Emma Stone to play her, and that can't hurt. It's a fantastic performance. You've written a few of her films, not just this, of course, The Favorite, Cruella. Is that sort of by coincidence that that happens? And what has it been like to be such a big part of her career and see her bring your characters to life in this way?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a I don't know. I mean, it's just been the greatest piece of luck and a great joy. You know, she's an incredible actress and a great person. And yeah, I think it was just the favorite was luck, and then obviously her and Craig brought me into Cruella, and then, you know, after we had a draft and Yorgos had told Emma the story, and she read the first. She was sort of the first person who read it, you know, and so it's just like, I mean, for a writer, I mean, she can do anything. She's just an incredible comic actress, but she's an incredible dramatic actress. And the way I write is flipping between the two sort of randomly. And, you know, she's just effortless. The way she made that arc work was incredible. So, yeah, it's just like a great experience to be kind of with her doing work, you know.
And theater was what initially intrigued you, right? I mean, you're a playwright as well. Had you been a big film fan as a kid, or was that something that came later? What was this young guy in
It really,
Australia helping to
yeah.
grow up to be?
No, I really came later. I grew up in a small country town of, you know, I think there was like 1,200 people, and we didn't really have the movies. And, you know, we would go to the city, but not very often. My parents weren't big movie goers. But I kind of remember, like, they started at the local school. One of the teachers started showing movies. And when I was like in late high school, I must have been like 16, 17. And I do remember then being like, whoa, what? I remember him showing Mad Max. And I was like, whoa, what's this? And then, yeah, I kind of like, but I did love movies. And then I got into theater and did a lot of plays, and then kind of drifted into TV, and then, yeah, but movies was something I always wanted to do. And I just kind of found me, you know, I kind of like grew as a playwright and then kind of got into TV, and then it's like finding the medium that suits at the time in your life. And now film really was it for me.
Poor Things is such a visual film. How do you move through these worlds on the page and give like production design, costumes, visual effects, all those tech departments kind of a blueprint? I mean, what do you put on the page, and then how do they sort of take that and run with it?
Yeah, I think in this world, the way Yorgos works, they kind of they take the spirit of it. I don't overwrite the look of the film. You know, obviously it was a fantasy, so the clues are I was like very early, I got to tell the audience the world we're in. So that was like, you know, the giant bubble that he burps, and the kind of like chicken dogs and kind of things like that, where I give them, but mostly I'm very focused on story. And so I don't give heaps, because it's also like, it's for Yorgos, you know, it's kind of Yorgos's ballpark, that. And so I get, and his process is, it's sort of, they're given the script and then they develop stuff, and they kind of with him in tandem, and then he'll kind of feed that back to me as we're writing what he's thinking it looks like. And you know, that informs the script as we go. So it's a little ensemble process in that way.
And there's such a sharp wit, and the language is funny in this movie. I'm curious about, you know, your own sense of humor. What does it take to write a comedy like this? It's not easy to write comedy. And are you ever concerned that, you know, the directors or the actors just like aren't gonna get it. Like this isn't funny to me. Like or their performance won't deliver in the way that you hope it reads on the page. What is it like to write comedy?
It's I don't. I mean, it's fun. I mean, I write it because it just am entertaining myself basically, and it's my natural way of writing. So, but I always try to like tell a very grounded emotional story at the same time. Yeah, I think I've been lucky because it's like great actors. You know, I'm not worried. You know, I don't know who I'm writing for generally, so I don't really worry about that. And you know, and I've been lucky. Like on my show, The Great, I had an ensemble of incredible actors, and obviously you find Emma's going to do it, and then Mark, and then Willem, and you're just like, well, I don't think there's anything I can write they can't do. So you just feel like in good hands, you know.
Are you ever surprised by like what an actor does to a character? Like has anyone ever like just kind of flipped it on its head a little bit for you and you're like, wow, that was not what I expected.
I think, yeah, over my career, there are times I've seen people do a take that was completely the opposite of sort of their read on it was very, very different. And yet it still worked. I remember that in the second play I ever did. Someone came in and did an audition that was it can completely flip the way I thought it should be done. And it was better. So I don't think, I think that's made me not scared of that. You know, I'm never like, it should be, you know, this is how, I mean, if it's not working, then that's different. But I don't think I'm afraid of that. You know, it's sort of why you're in the, or for me, it's why I write films, and I want to see what people do that I can't imagine because I already know what I can imagine. And it's not, it's like writing a film for Yorgos. It's like, you know, it's not, I know sort of mostly what he's going to do, and I know the sensibility he has, but I still watch the film and I still walk around the sets amazed at what he's kind of come up with and how to interpret the script.
And even like Mark Ruffalo in this film, he plays Duncan, sort of like he's kind of just this jerk, you know, but there's something about Mark Ruffalo that's so charismatic and lovable that you can't help but still like him and laugh at him. Is that how you wanted that character to play out? And you know, what did you think of Mark's performance? Because I mean, he was one of the highlights for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Mark took it beyond imagination of how funny it was. And I mean, he was always to me an unmalicious idiot who just couldn't get his head around her her view of the world, and he was so trapped in his own view of the world and trapped in the idea he was in love. And it was a fun idea to like basically dissolve that character. But yeah, I think Mark just knocked it out of the park, and it was a joy to watch them on set just doing it. And I don't think, I think he just took it and ran with it in a way that you know, I don't think we dreamed it would be as funny.
And there's a lot of sex in the movie. I mean, when you're writing this, are you ever worried like, okay, this is too much, this is not enough? How do you walk the line of some of the raunchier elements that we see? Because it's not exactly a romantic film.
No, I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's not really a line I walk. I'm just like, it's a coming of age movie, and part of discovering food, literature, politics, sex. So I'm like, what's the beat? You know, I'm like, what's the story beat? I don't think we're writing a sex. In a way, I'm like, I'm never writing a sex scene. I'm writing like, what's the next beat that evolves her to the next moment where she's going to change. So I don't really. I mean, I think working with Yorgos, you know, there's a kind of bravery to it anyway, and I kind of knew we were gonna make a film that was unique, and we weren't gonna you know, she's a person without shame and without society's fingerprints on it. So it was always like, well, to be true to that, we kind of have to have sex scenes, and also within the sex scene is really an emotional beat about and an intellectual beat about what she's learning all the time. So it's kind of that guides you rather than kind of what's the sex scene. You know, we didn't really think about them as sex, you know, in a way. They were kind of like, what's the beat? Where's she going? What does she learn in this beat with Swiney? Or, you know, it was kind of, that's how we were thinking about it.
And also her language development. I mean, the term furious jumping is one of the great terms or phrases of the film. How did you
Yeah.
even think of that?
I think because I think when I thought about how to construct her language, as well as learning words, and as well as she was gathering words and she was learning concept, I was like, there'll be experiences she doesn't have words for, so she'll have to make them up. So I was like, so that was one where I was like, okay, that's an experience that she's had that she's found enjoyable and intense, and she's gonna like sort of pick words for it, you know. And so that was sort of what I came up with. I'm not really sure why I came up with it, but yeah.
What were your thoughts when you saw the film in its entirety the first time, fully edited and everything? You know, are you immediately impressed? Are you thinking, what happened to this line that I wrote? Why is this missing? What goes through your head when you see a film for the first time?
I think the first time I just thought it was amazing. I just thought we'd made something between it, you know, Yorgos. I just thought we'd made something really unique and really great, and it was a film I loved. And I was a bit like, well, what else can you do? I was like, it's beyond, you know. He brought all those elements together, which I had seen separately, which I knew were all everyone taking a big swing at everything, and just it was unified. And Emma's performance was extraordinary. I just felt really good that I'd been part of it. And then later in the other other cuts, later cuts, I was occasionally like, "Where's that bit? Where's that scene going? That was good." But but we also, what's good, you know, he shoots the script and he's very tight with it, so that you don't lose much. I mean, there's maybe 3 scenes that so I wasn't too like, where's that, but there's always scenes you're like, they're such good actors that you kind of see them and you're like, oh, that was so good. But yeah, I was just so happy to be part of it.
Well, Tony, congratulations on the film and best of luck to you and everyone else, all your colleagues and the cast and crew that are nominated at the Oscars on March 10th. And thanks for sitting down and chatting with Gold Derby today.
Great, thank you very much.